Hi, welcome to another Urban Outdoorsman SoCal video. My name is Danny Milton, and today we're at El Dorado Park shooting some arrows. So just so you know my history, I've been shooting compound bows for a little bit over a year now. I've gone hunting a couple of times. I shoot a lot of 3D events. I went to 3 TAC events this year. I shoot a couple of my local places and just enjoy being outdoors and shooting my bow and putting arrows in foam. Everything that I've learned from archery, I've learned from John Dudley. I've watched thousands of hours of his videos. I've watched the School of Knock at least 3 or 4 times, and I have some of his equipment. As you can see, I have one of his shirts on right now. I do support him. He does give so much information out there for free. Check him on YouTube, check him on knockonarchery.com. You can find the School of Knock there. You can find so many tips for how to shoot your bow, how to just set up everything, arrow setup, all that kind of stuff. I've also actually met him a couple of times at some of the Total Archery Challenge events. Super cool guy. I mean, does nothing but just hang out with people and tell stories all day long. And yeah, just a great wealth of information. I do recommend that if you do go there, buy some of his merch, keep that store going. So the reason for today's video is because of a shoot I just recently did out in Corona. I went to the Oranco Bowman shoot, and during that shoot, I've shot several 3D events, but at that particular shoot, there was a bunch of very short shots. And by short, I mean like there was one shot at like 10 feet, there was another one, I think at like 15, and another one at 25 feet. I have never shot at targets that close before, so I had no idea of like how low I had to aim. I put my pin at 20 yards, and I was just trying to guess on how low I had to aim, and I was way off. It was a scoring event, and on 3 of the 4 shots that I took, I got zeros, and I was really upset about that. So that was anywhere from 24 to 33 points that I gave up because I had no experience shooting at that short of a distance. So to be as accurate as possible, you always want to put your pin on what you're aiming at, whether that's a 10 ring, a 12 ring, on an animal, whatever. You don't want to guess with your pin being high or your pin being low, unless you're in like a hunting situation. But for 3D archery, those scores count. The difference between, hitting a 10 ring and an 8 or a 5 really starts to add up by the end of the day. So my setup is I have the PSC Drive NXT. I have it pulling around 65 pounds. I have a 31-inch draw length. I'm shooting full-length 31-inch arrows. My arrows are weighted at about 414 grains. These are my 3D arrows. I want them to be super light and super fast. Just so you know, all of that stuff doesn't make a difference. What you need to know is your arrow speed. My arrow speed for these arrows is 291 feet per second. Now, where that's going to come into play is you could be shooting a very similar bow to mine, but if your arrows are 100 grains heavier, it's going to affect your yardages for all of these short distances. We're going to go 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet, 25 feet. So like I said, your arrow speed may vary, so your distance at these 10, 15, 20, 25 foot distances may be different as far as where you're going to have to set your scope at as far as your yardage goes. So a quick tip that I will give you as well is anytime you're trying to dial in a yardage on your bow, don't shoot at an actual target. Get whatever you're going to be shooting at, just put a tape line or something across that you can shoot at, just that horizontal line. That way you can really dial in. If your brain only has to worry about height, then it doesn't have to worry about your lefts and rights, and you don't have to worry about where your bubble is. You just have to put your pin on that tape line, and that's the best way that I've found to really dial in those yardages. You're also going to want to take plenty of shots at each of these distances, because literally, you're shooting so close. At 10 feet, if you're off a couple of degrees, it might only be like a quarter of an inch, but quarter of an inch makes a big difference. At 10 feet, you should just be hammering X's. So you want to take lots of shots, and you want to kind of find your range, kind of like an average of where your yardage is going to be for each of these steps. So what I did was I brought a measuring tape and I marked off all of my spots here, and I put an arrow in the ground So we've got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 feet. The reason why I did that is because my rangefinder wouldn't measure anything under 5 yards. So we're going through here at 10 feet, not 10 yards, 10 feet. This is one of the shots I had at the Oranco Bowman 3D shoot. At 10 feet, my range is 58 yards. So you're gonna take whatever, if you do have a slider pin, you're gonna move that down to 58 yards. If you have, a bow hunter's setup where you've got multiple pins, you're gonna be somewhere close around to your 60, if you have a 60. So this is our first group here. At 10 feet, you should be able to hit fairly consistent. My sight was set to 58 yards, and you can see, and I'll show you a close-up here, we're pretty much in a flat line. This one was maybe 1/8 of an inch low, but the rest are pretty solid, so I'm thinking 10 feet, 58 yards. So something else to take into consideration is going to be your fatigue factor. I'm shooting right now, I'm shooting at 30 feet, and the previous group I just did was all over the place. It was pretty bad. But it looks like we're dialed in now. I got the first 2 arrows right where I want them to be. We're gonna shoot 3 more just to be certain, and then we'll go down and take a look at the results. All right, so you can see our last end here. This was at 10 yards or 30 feet. First 3 are great. This one was outside the tape, but that's just, I'm gonna chalk that up to just being tired. I've already shot over 60 arrows doing this shoot so far. Last one was pretty good, maybe about 1/8 of an inch high. Really gotta focus on that last one right there. It's all gonna come down to how much you want it, because when I'm at a 3D event, I want every point possible, and I'm not gonna guess with my 20-yard pin, like 1.5 feet below a target or a 10 ring or even a 12 ring. I want to put that target right in that 12 ring. I want to pull back, and I want to know that at worst, I'm going to have 1 inch high or 1 inch low, which still puts me inside that 10 ring. So just going over real quickly, at 10 feet, I had my sight set at 58 yards. 15 feet was 41 yards. 20 feet was 34 yards. 25 feet was 29 yards, and at 30 feet or 10 yards, I had my bow set to 26 yards. And as you can see, at 30 feet, I've got 4 out of the 5 arrows inside probably that 12 ring, at least definitely inside the 10 ring. And it's gonna make all the difference in the world if you're really counting scores and trying to improve your archery. So I tried to make this as short as possible. This is something I had no idea about for probably 10 months, that I'd never taken a shot at a 3D event that was less than about 15 yards. And at 15 yards, I just set my sight to 20, aim at the bottom of the 10 ring, and I'm in there. So like I said, hopefully this is news to you. It was definitely news to me. If you do go shoot an archery event, even if I see you over at Oranco, and you've got that 10-foot shot and you hit that 12 ring because you watched my video and you knew that you had to go change it to a much longer distance than you would think to put your arrow in that 10 ring. So I do suggest that each one of you go out to the range. You can kind of use the yardages that I gave you as kind of a starting point. But like I said, it's all gonna matter about your arrow speed and your sight tape and how far or whatever. So you can use those as starting points, make sure you have a nice big target. So let's say you come out and you're trying to do the 10-foot shot, and you put your sight at 58 yards and your arrow's really high or really low. What you're gonna do is you're gonna move your housing in the same direction. So if you're hitting high, you wanna move that housing up. If your arrow's way below the line, you wanna move that housing down. That's gonna get you, and then you can slowly dial it in until you get all of those arrows inside that tape, or at least, a decent, 2 to 3 inch group around that tape. All right, so thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you do all that fun stuff for me, please. Like, share, comment, definitely make comments. Tell me I'm an idiot. Tell me this is the greatest news you've ever heard in your life. Tell me whatever. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments. The more comments we get, the more YouTube does its stuff and more people see the video. Definitely subscribe to the channel. If you're already subscribed, make sure you click that bell notification. This is something that I do in my part-time. I do actually have a real job, and I work, 40 to 60 hours a week. So I'm trying to get more consistent with the videos every Monday, but it's been tough recently just because I've been working a lot more and everything that's going on with the economy and that kind of stuff. So turn on that bell notification. That way, if it's been a couple of weeks, you will know, bing, that, that bell's gonna go off and you will know when I do come out with a new video. And last but not least, click on one of these boxes in the corner. One will take you to my archery playlist. The other one will take you to a favorite video, and you can click the logo over there, the Urban Outdoorsman SoCal logo, to subscribe. Thanks a lot.